Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. This is going to be another episode of how many plant chores can Joy get done in the span of an hour? Because I have to pick up my daughter from preschool in an hour and a half, but I need to give myself some cushion time. But the list of plant chores that I need to get done just keeps growing and growing and growing, kind of like my plants. That was really bad. I'm so sorry. But yeah, honestly, with spring right around the corner, I'm feeling a little bit more comfy with messing with my plants. So we're gonna do some plant chores today that I've really been putting off, but not only because I don't want to do them, but just because they're a little bit more intense and a little bit more scary. I mean, not all of them, but we're gonna be chopping some plants. Okay, let's get into it. I always forget that this is not a good shirt for this. I don't feel like changing, so I hope that this works. Okay, here's the first order of business. This right here is my philodendron verrucosum, and as you can see, I have not kept up with it very well. It's growing off the pole, and in general, like, I just need to figure out what to do with it. I also I think I need to bring it down here momentarily so that you can like even see what's going on. Unfortunately, I don't think that the chop and extend method will work with this plant. I think I'm just going to have to chop it, propagate it, and probably like kind of start it over. But I'm gonna try like two methods and figure out which one works for me based on how the plant does. So the first thing I wanna do, my first plan is to kind of maybe from like right around here, chop up all of these nodes completely. I'll be propagating each of those plants using different mediums, probably just water and sphagnum moss. Meanwhile, I will keep about half of the plant, and I'll kind of like look at both methods. And you know, on the one hand, I could theoretically start this plant over completely from like the top cut. The other option is to start from the halfway point. You know, I'll chop it and then let it sprout a new growth point on the pole from where it's at and see what happens. So those are kind of my two options, and I'm gonna try both of them because may as well. Once I kind of decide which version I want to keep, I'll give the other plant away. There was one point where I was doing really great with my moss poles and keeping up with the extensions, but at a certain point, once they get super long, it just gets daunting to deal with them. And also like my life has been busy lately, so I just haven't had as much time to dedicate to the time suck that moss poles can be. You know, I've kept them alive, but not like growing to their greatest potential. And I just, you know, especially being a young mom and having a lot of other things that I'm working on, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be that person. Like, I'm not the Sydney plant guy or whatever his name is. I'm not Wild Fern, you know. They all do such a great job keeping up with their plants, and I just know that I'm not them. So I do try my best to not compare myself too much to like some other planty creators where, you know, this plants might be their full-time job, you know. And I know that there are some people who like plants aren't their full-time job and they do great, but their life doesn't look like my life. You know, none of our lives look like each other. So like, it's not a one-to-one. So like, why do we make ourselves suffer by comparing? But you know, it can be tempting to feel that comparison, you know, when you see other people taking care of plants online. It's like, well, why do I suck at taking care of plants? Like, why can't I do as good a job at this as like all these other people? But like, we have different homes. Like, some people have really tall ceilings that can accommodate these really big plants. Some people have like ideal light situations. You never know what other people have. Some people might have more time or energy. So I've been trying to not give in to that temptation. Ooh, it looks like we did have some roots here on this node, but oh well. They sort of dried out because I have not been good at keeping up with this pole, as I mentioned already. But yeah, that's just something that I've been trying to remind myself, and maybe you can remind yourself of that too. Okay, we've got this big piece. I'm gonna just kind of chop this up, and I'll only keep the leaves that look promising and nice because I don't want to be saddled with like 50 propagations. I'll be pretty selective, especially since philodendron verrucosum, it used to be more on the rare side, but nowadays it really is very accessible. Like I got this plant for maybe $15 a couple years ago or a year and a half ago or something. So really the plant market has changed tremendously. I am going to continue to cut down quite a ways. Now my only hesitation, the only thing I don't like about the option of keeping this bottom cut is that like these bottom vines, I suspect are gonna get pretty sparse pretty quickly because like this leaf down here at the bottom, for example, is currently yellowing off. So I'm just gonna cut it off, put it out of its misery, I guess. Yeah, like any leaves that just don't look that great. I'm just gonna cut them off because why keep them? They'll give me a better idea of what this might look like in the future. I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, I could also pot it up with some new cuttings in the bottom too. I mean, I've got some possibilities and ways to work around what I'm going through right now, but I'm having a hard time deciding exactly where I want to cut it. Because there are several vines here too, and they're all kind of like mixed up. So, oh man. Like this is gonna be a new leaf. I cut it here. I don't know if you can see that. I did cut it here a while back and gave that propagation to a friend. And so I do want to be like strategic because I don't, you know, want to cut where there's a spent node either. So I could also just cut further down, which I think I might do. Oh, it's so hard to know. Let's see what we're working with. Honestly, there's so much going on. Okay, I want to cut it right here, maybe? Well, no. It's interesting to take stock of each of the individual vines and kind of see how they're doing. So here's another, I mean, this is a very nice looking cutting, honestly. I mean, I'll probably chop it up further, but like this could have good potential to make a new plant if I decide to do that. Oh yeah, this vine in particular. Wow, I didn't even realize how sparse this vine was. Whoa, hang on a minute. Okay, that's so interesting. So this is the only leaf that it has in this entire vine. Do you see how empty it is right there? I seriously didn't even realize that until I like removed all of these other ones. That's so interesting. If this whole vine is empty, I feel like I may as well just like chop it way down low and see if it sprouts a new growth point down here. Maybe, I don't know. I kind of want to like take all these vines out and just find the ideal spots to chop each of them. Because that's another way to make it more full, is to just try to get them to activate new growth points. I have so much plant Velcro, oh my gosh. It's so interesting to kind of like dig into this plant, investigate what's been going on. These two vines are the most rooted in here, I will say. Like this main vine right here, which is interesting because it's the one that doesn't have leaves. I mean, of course I did chop it earlier. It had leaves up here. It's kind of off the camera, but the ones that I chopped earlier, I don't know where to chop it then if it's all entangled in the moss. I think I am gonna just like chop them off. I feel bad, but like, I don't want a single super barren vine to be going up the whole length of the pole and taking up space, you know? I'll chop it like down here. And I guess we'll just see what happens. And maybe it will give me a new growth point. I don't know. But I will chop here again because this will make a good cutting. And these can be wet sticks. I haven't decided yet if I want to keep the wet sticks or not. This vine right here is pretty sparse, but it is rooted really nicely right here. And it's got, like some of these bottom leaves are looking unwell. Let's take a top cut. It has a new leaf coming in, so I'll spare it. And then yeah, I think now we've got like these 3 main vines and then a 4th practically empty vine. So let me go ahead and I'll plant Velcro these back on. And then I also want to repot this plant because I think it's really root bound, is my suspicion. All right, that's kind of what it's looking like now. Obviously much smaller, more manageable, but it has potential. We'll kind of see what happens with it, I guess. But before I repot it, I do want to, let's see, I guess handle all of these cuttings and see what I want to do. I think I'll just chop them up pretty much by the node for the most part. So like right here, I've got I mean, this top cut does not look great, but I'll keep it just because it's the top cut. This is an empty node, a wet stick. And then this cutting is really pretty. I think I'm just gonna like set it in water, like this whole thing, kind of like I did with my Riphidophora tetrasperma a while back. Ta-da! Super cute. But okay, these are the rest of kind of like the single node cuttings for the most part. Set those aside for now. This is the wet sticks. I guess may as well chop it up and stick it in sphagnum moss. Sometimes people get upset if I throw away wet sticks. I think I want to add more chunk to this potting mix because I recently got some more soil amendments. And okay, so you can buy all of your soil amendments separately, and that's great. But if you just want a shortcut and you want to go the easy way, I found that the special orchid potting mix is really nice. You can take this and mix it with like a base of, like I use Happy Frog potting soil, and this has orchid bark and it has chunky perlite and it has charcoal in it. So it makes your soil nice and chunky and it does the job, and it's just only one step rather than, you know, having to buy multiple different amendments and keep those big bags around. Like, this is a nice alternative. Of course, you could also just buy something like De La Tinks, but if you're still kind of wanting to mix your own soil but want a shortcut, this works very well. You see now it's got really nice big chunks of bark. That's probably good enough. I guess we should probably check and see what the root system is like on this guy, eh? Ooh. Oh yeah. That's a healthy root system right there. It's all like stuck together too. I don't know how well you can see that because the roots are a bit on the darker side, but I think it's ready. I'm just gonna, well, I never can decide if I want to keep it as one unit or if I want to kind of zhuzh the roots a little bit. I just sort of do it based on vibes, you know? All right, and there we go. Of course, I'll go water this in, and then I'll need to put all of those propagations into like sphagnum moss, and yeah, I guess I'll figure out the next thing I want to do. All right, very quickly, I've got my sphagnum moss. Let me just shift this dirt away. I would love to fit all of these into one if I can. Probably can't though. All right. And oh my goodness. So I used to use this as a prop box where I would put a layer of sphagnum moss and then like put each of my individual cuttings in here so they're all kind of a tangled mess together. And there was something very fun and exciting about that. It was also a little bit chaotic and frustrating to pot them back up. So like I like the system that I have now where I do plants individually and then I put them all in a bin, but they're in individual pots. However, I'm figuring, so it's springtime, right? And I am going to most certainly be propagating a lot more plants than just this over the next few months. And there's probably going to be some wet sticks, and most of the time I just don't bother with them, but they are kind of fun to watch grow and become something. Let's see. I'm going to need to go get some more moss really fast. I have like another brick of it. I'll rehydrate. I'll add a little bit more, and then I'll put the wet sticks in here. When I also have more plants to chop up later, I will continue to just kind of put wet sticks in here. So this will be full of wet sticks by the end of spring, I'm certain. And it's gonna be a good old time trying to figure out what's what. Maybe I'll make labels or something at some point, but okay, here's more moss. It's still kind of hydrating. let it soak up more water. I do remember feeling so enamored by the idea of like wet sticks and propagation when I first got into the hobby. When I realized that plants could be propagated, that was one of the things that made me really excited and like get into wanting more and more plants and propagating them and giving them to friends and sharing them and growing my collection. And it's just so interesting like how your perspective changes, because I still enjoy propagating things and find it really satisfying. It's so normal to me now. Like, I don't know, sometimes I wish I could go back. That little bright-eyed girl that like was so excited about houseplants and constantly learning new things, rather than the, I don't know, like I still love plants, but it's just I have a different relationship with them now. It's a little bit less about consumption, and it's a little bit less about trying to get as many plants as possible, which I appreciate those elements to kind of how I've matured in the hobby. But it's, you know, I kind of miss the excitement of learning new things and discovering new plants. And there are still plants that I'm not very familiar with. You know, honestly, I think it might be fun, maybe not this year, but next year, to pick a genus that I know barely anything about and to really delve deep into them and see if I can master their care. Like that could be like a fun challenge. Yeah, it's just interesting like how much things have changed, some things for the better, to where I'm not as focused on like buying more plants all the time. But I also don't feel that like thrill and excitement surrounding plants the same way, like the wonder the same way, because like I just have a lot more experience and I'm a lot more familiar with them. So it's just different. I don't know, I did mention in my last video that like I've been kind of catching the Hoya bug, so maybe that's going to be what it is for me. Maybe I'll just like get really into maybe not a brand new genus that I'm completely unfamiliar with. So like, for example, pings, they're carnivorous plants. I barely know anything about them, but I think that they're really cute, but I also don't know if I love them enough to really want to delve super deep into them. But Hoya, I mean, I have like 30 Hoya already, but I feel like there's a lot more that I could learn about them, or anthurium, stuff like that. So even a genus that I already own, I think it could be super exciting to like try to re-enter that headspace of wanting to learn everything I possibly can and trying new things and buying new plants in that genus. So really what I experienced when I first got into houseplants and collecting houseplants, but at a smaller scale. And rather than like all the houseplants, just kind of zeroing in on a single genus. But anyway, this right here is my philodendron atabapoense, and this is probably one of my favorite plants in my collection, but it's in dire need of moss pole extension and I think a repot. I'm pretty sure it needs a repot. So let me decide which pot I'm gonna put it into. Hang on, this is what the varicosum was in. Is it bigger? It's a little bit hard to tell. Like, I mean, this is like more of a tapered pot. So it's maybe like ever so slightly bigger in terms of volume, but not by much. I think I would need to go up a size. Let me venture downstairs and hope that I have a good pot for this. Okay, I don't have anything crazy, but I do have a terracotta pot, so I can't complain. Oh my goodness. Oh wow, okay. I'm excited to look at this root system because I'm already seeing roots peeking up the top actually. You guys, this is gonna be so good. I feel it. And once I repot this plant is totally going to explode in growth is my guess, especially with spring coming up. So, oop. Okay, that was maybe like a little bit underwhelming. I totally thought it was gonna be more intense than that, but I mean, I guess it's pretty well rooted. Yeah, I'll give it to that. Let's see, these were the roots that were like poking out the top. I don't know how you can make that out. I thought it was gonna be like so completely crazy root bound, which, okay, there's a lot of roots in here. It definitely needed a repot, but it was not to the extent that I thought it was. That's so funny. Actually, I think I have some water propagations of the atabapoense, so I might go add another vine just for funsies. Ooh, and look at that. Do you see the root system that's in that moss pole right there? Ooh, that is beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, I guess a lot of the root system was just in the pole itself. And even up here, do you see that? It's got a lot of healthy roots going on. So that's good. I'm glad that this plant is happy. Okay, so admittedly, these have been like decoration for a while. So look at how root bound. Oh my gosh, it looks like noodles. Oh my goodness, and like up top here, the roots have tried climbing out and they like totally dried. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Hopefully I can get it out of here. I'm actually not confident that I'm gonna be able to get it out of here without like ripping it apart, which would defeat the purpose. So I don't know. If it works, it works. If not, that's fine. But let's see what happens. If I try to gently, I don't know. I can't really, come on. Oh, okay, that kind of worked. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh, this is bizarre. Do you see how it like tried to put off like new growth points and leaves? I just snapped that off. Oh well. It tried to put off all these new growth points, but it kept getting trapped. That's like a legit nightmare. That's nightmare fuel right there. But like so fascinating to look at the same time. Wow. Well, this poor plant. Like that is crazy. It's so dense. Oh my gosh. I was never really planning on potting this up, but it's like, since I'm repotting this plant anyways, I might as well try. I'll be interested to see I just don't know what to do with this. Let's see what happens. Okay, and then of course I need to extend this moss pole, which conveniently, I still have this moss pole from the varicosum earlier. Look at me, strategizing, thinking ahead, and where are my zip ties? The way that I extend moss poles is these are like totally homemade moss poles, by the way. There's a little hole right here, and I just sort of overlap the holes. I take a zip tie, and I zip. So, you know, it's not like the most stable thing ever, but it works. And then I just fill it up with moss. Honestly, this plant is already so tall that like I could get another moss pole extension right here. Like I could probably justify it, but that would require me to actually like make more right this second. And I don't know that I want to do that right now. I don't think I even have time to, frankly. So I'm just gonna do the one extension for now. I've got my moss. Are you guys reading any good books lately? Because I could talk about books for forever. So let me know, like if you read anything, like what your preferred genre to read is, like how often do you read? Is reading one of your hobbies? Because I love reading so much. And I'm always down to meet other people that like it too. Just this morning I was reading Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. And man, she does not pull any punches when it comes to her characters and like letting them make bad choices. But like it all makes sense, you know, like it's not like they're just making bad choices for the sake of it. And like I'm here for it, I'm along for the ride, but it's honestly kind of devastating to watch sometimes. But it's a fantasy series and you're following the bastard son of the crown prince, basically from the time he's like 7 years old, and a whole lot happens. There's lots of like political intrigue stuff, lots of action, a little bit of like adventure. Very fun, but okay. Wow, okay, this plant is good to go. Okay, unfortunately, I have to leave now to pick up my daughter, but I think that later this week I'll have some time to do some more plant chores. Actually, let me show you like the first one that's on my list, like as soon as I get a chance to do it. This is my philodendron painted lady. It's beautiful. She's beautiful, but yeah, she's growing off the pole, as you can see. Very much so. And also, like, even though she's really pretty, all of her leaves are like the same size practically. She really hasn't sized up, so I would like to see if I can fix that by, I don't know, just like starting the plant over basically. So I guess tomorrow or the next day I will work on my philodendron painted lady, and any other plants that I decide I'm like, okay, yeah, you need help. So stay tuned. Hey, so remember how I said that I was going to be doing more plant chores in like a day or two? Well, I ended up getting sick with like an ear infection and a sore throat, so I didn't have it in me to even try to film. Here we are, like over a week later, and I'm about to leave on vacation on a trip. I really want to get this done before I leave, but I'm going to keep it simple, and we're going to work on my painted lady, as I mentioned. Here she is. She actually technically probably could use a watering, but I would have to like water her and then wait for a while before propagating her. So I think it'll be fine. But I'm gonna do like the same treatment that I did with like my varicosum, where I just take a few chops and maybe take, I don't know, with this one the pole is small enough that I might just leave most of the pole and let it kind of regrow, and I'll decide later which plant I want to keep depending on how they grow in. So let's use our mat so we don't make a big mess everywhere. We can avoid it. And I do want to take a peek at the root system and see if I need to find a pot to repot it in. It looks like we're probably good, but I might refresh the soil because I feel like it's been a little while. I may as well. Oh yeah, look at that. It looks like there's some compacted soil and it just generally smells really old to me. So yeah, we're gonna switch that up. Oh no, actually that's really tragic. This is a clump of root system and I don't know, I don't think that it rotted off, but I must not have been careful enough when I was extracting it because I think that I totally just lost a giant chunk of root system that just came off. So, you know, that's a shame. It is what it is. It will still survive. It has plenty of roots left, I think. Let's see. I will start taking the cuts because I may as well just get that out of the way. And then I guess I'll repot it. I'm feeling a little bit all over the place today. I think it's the remnants of being sick. And, you know, my mind is very full of travel plans and that sort of thing since we're leaving for our vacation soon. How much do I want to cut? Maybe even all the way down here, because like these leaves right here, I don't know how well you can see them, but these two leaves are a little bit stunted. So I think I want to cut beneath them, and I'm going to have a lot of propagations to work with and kind of see what happens with them. And yeah, sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming to have so many propagations going, but it's also fun to, you know, like if someone comes over, I have so many plants that I could offer them, which I really enjoy. All right, so here is the massive cutting that I just took. It's always a little bit sad, like just a little bit sad to me sometimes to cut up plants, but I think it's for the best. I think this plant is going to look a lot better in the long run. And I'm just going to start making chops. There is like a weird growth here. I can't tell if it's trying, I guess it looks like it's trying to put off a new leaf, or maybe this is like the new type of growth, like more mature growth. I don't know, but I guess we'll find out later. This is a wet stick, so I guess I'll put it in my wet stick box. Another wet stick. And these two leaves, since they don't look great, I'm just gonna discard them because I already have plenty of cuttings. Great. Oh my gosh. It looks so much smaller compared to what I had before, but no, this is good. This will be good. Okay. So these are all of the cuttings that I'm working with. Honestly, it's quite a few. I think I can fit a lot of them in this one pot. I don't know, is that reasonable? Just see what happens. So there's that. And there's that. And honestly, like this went by super smoothly. So I think I might want to grab maybe one more plant. Let me just poke around this room and see if there's any more plants that I want to do something with. And before I forget, actually, these are the wet sticks. I'm gonna go ahead and set them in this little wet stick box that I made for myself last week. Okay, I didn't have to look very far to find a plant that I need to help. This right here is my philodendron dark lord, and it's severely struggling. I mean, it had thrips and stuff, and I think I just want to start it over, to be honest, because it looks awful after thrips. I mean, to be honest, it kind of looked awful before as well. I'm fairly confident that the thrips problem is pretty much solved. I've been treating it nonstop for a while, but I'm just gonna go ahead and chop it up, and I'm not gonna keep a whole lot of the plant. I'm just gonna keep a couple of cuttings. If they live, they live, but if they don't, well, good riddance. Maybe I'll get myself a new Dark Lord at some point, but this plant has been a massive headache for me over the years. And I love what it can look like. I love the potential of it, but my patience is wearing thin. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with like these leaves or anything. I might, yeah, I'll cut it like pretty much all the way down, I guess. So this is like a wet stick I'll also put in the wet stick box, because why not? We'll see what happens. I don't know. I feel very like open-handed and about done with this plant, so yeah. I don't know. Should I leave it here? Should I toss it? I might leave it for like a month, and if it does something, great, but if it doesn't do anything, whatever. I have these propagations. I still technically have the plant, and if something ever happens, great, but if nothing ever happens, I can live with that. Okay, so Dark Lord over in this corner of the wet stick prop box. Okay. And I really only have like 3 good cuttings here. They'll look a little bit pitiful. Yep, we'll see if they survive. Okay, well, we did it. I was able to accomplish a decent amount. This is kind of reset, got a bunch of new cuttings of plants. So I'll sort these out. I'm gonna water this in, of course, water these, like make sure they're moist enough and find some good spots for them. But we've done what we've come here to do. And frankly, spring cannot come soon enough because it's about 4 degrees out. It is sunny, which I am very grateful for. That makes a big difference to me, but wow, it is blisteringly cold. I think pretty soon here I'm going to make like a get ready for spring with me CHATTY plant chores video. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. I'm planning on doing some preventative pest treatment, some fertilizing, and maybe some more propagating and repotting and that sort of thing. Honestly, just in the spirit of wanting spring to come, because I am so excited to see the flowers. I'm excited for it to get warmer and sunnier, for the days to get longer, and for my plants to like me again. But yeah, that's gonna be just about it for this video. So I really hope that you liked it. If you did, please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All those things are super helpful for my channel. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye.